Slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we continue from previous class. So in this slide, we discussed that, okay, if length is S and corresponding passage time is 1 nanosecond, then on an average, 8 photons will be detected or can be counted if only if the power of the beam is 1 nanowatt. If it is instead of 1 nanowatt, if it is 1 milliwatt, then it will be something like 8,000. So it is obvious that to single out photons one by one, if you want to count, I think weaker laser source, weaker power is better, or you have to sample very small time, very small time. So that sampling time, when you are going down and down, I think detector will have also some problem. So that is one issue. Detector will have some kind of response time, dead time, all those things we counted. So even if it is on an average 8 photons are there, uh, for example here it can be 100 photons also. But thing is that we'll show now that every time you sample 30 centimeter length, you may not get 8 photons all the time. That is not certain that we will be always getting 8 photons. It can happen that entire 30 centimeter there is no photons at all, and next 30 centimeter it can be 16 photons. Or it can happen that subsequently a few samples you are getting completely absent, and suddenly it is just a kind of bunch of photons are coming. So in that case, within 30 centimeter, you can expect that maybe hundreds of photons are there also. So you will not be able to predict properly that what is the number of photons you will be getting for a certain window. For a certain window, if there is any variance, if there is any standard deviation, if you can define. Average is fine, that is classically we calculated. These are all classical calculation we found. You can say that semi-classical. You are thinking photon as a quantum particle, but you are calculating everything from your Maxwell's equation classically. So that is the thing. Now this is the with this background knowledge, we'll now try to find out the probability of finding n photons. For example, I sample certain length all the time. Now, what is the probability of n photons? That is not n average. I said that n average always you will not get. That is average number. Suppose I want to know what is the probability of finding one photon within that length time scale, 1 nanosecond, or maybe no photons. N can be 0 also, or n can be 100 also. So what would be the probability? So we said that normal laser actually it follows certain kind of if you consider it is a monochromatic, uh, nearly monochromatic, then you can say that this is basically some kind of distribution called Poissonian distribution. We'll try to understand not from the very basic things. We'll start from the binomial theory, and then we'll try to analyze what it is actually, what Poisson distribution stands for. So one thing is that let us consider this S and N is known. Suppose we have a time window we can detect in the photo detector, and we know that average photons could be something like that, in average some number. Now what you could do, you just think, it's a kind of thought experiment you plan, that this S length you subdivide into n equal subsegments. So this n equal subsegment division is something to uh, go to a length or segment length such that you may get one photon or no photons at all. So we know that there will be on an average 8 photons will be there in this particular case. Now we are setting as a variable some kind of number constant, n average, n bar is there. Now you divide it into n segments. Suppose n is 100, then your 30 centimeter length will be divided by 100. So your sub-segment length will be 0.3 centimeter. So within that 0.3 centimeter length, you can imagine now that within because you are reducing to a small length, so maximum probability will be maybe one photon you can get, or maybe no photons will be there. And you have to assume that n should be very large, so that within that subsegment, either you may get one photon or no photon, but negligibly small number of 2 photons or more number of photons. So that means we try to frame our problem with a subsegment where you can say yes or no. It's something like that. Sometimes in our normal biological diagnosis, for example, dengue detection, normally you detect with some experiment. Okay, detection is there. What is the how much level of dengue virus? I think dengue virus, right? Okay, dengue virus is in your body per centimeter cube of blood molecules or liquid blood. That actually you can estimate with certain number, but sometimes it is just good to have a taste of that, whether there is any dengue virus is there or not. Just yes, no. We don't need quantification. Even one is there, then you have a dengue fever, and if it is not there also, not there, then that means you don't have. So in that case, you don't need to go for exact number calculation. That time you can start your treatment. Okay, so that is something like that yes no problem setting. Here also we just try to find out that that segment, whether there is any photon is there or not. Okay, and we are assuming that negligibly small probability of finding 2 or more photons in any subsegments. So that means n has to be very large. Ideally it should be infinite number of subsegments. Then I think just a differential, you can divide a certain length, you can keep on dividing, but still you can get some differential length, right? So within that differential length, we are just thinking. So this yes no problem of finding if there is there or not, some certain probability is there or not, if I just try to find out, that is actually can be found from the binomial distribution. This binomial distribution actually to derive this you need another one class. I don't want to waste that, but we can just take directly. This is normally first time it was derived for certain kind of counting molecules and also counting whether there is a radioactivity decay is there or not, all those type of things. To derive that, this type of distribution was found. And this probability of finding the particular in a particular subsegment, probability of finding a photon here in this case, we just define like that p equal to, because average number of entire segment is n, photon number n, so you divide by capital N, so that can be considered as a probability of finding a photon in that particular segment. So that must be very small, sufficiently small. That is what our assumption. So probability of finding a photon should be 0.00001 or something like that, almost negligibly small. That way you have to consider. So P is considered like that, and you have the n subsegment, right? And you want to find what is the number of photons in the entire segment, whole segment S, total length. So to find that, you have divided into n subsegment, and each subsegment there is a probability of finding yes, no, or something like that. It's P, and this P we just define like that because we assume that the average number is known to us. Classically, we can calculate some round figure. We know that. Okay, so this expression we take it as if it is a granted. You know that. So n factorial, and then this average number, whatever number you want, that factorial, and then n minus n. If n is available, n minus n segment will not be available. So in that way, it is actually derived. Okay, so this is the probability of finding within n, and this is what is the probability of finding in n minus n cell subsegments. That is what we take. We just keep in mind that. Okay, now you just substitute this p value, whatever from our problem framing p. So we substitute here. So you would do this. So equation 252 is nothing but 251. Just only you are substituting p value as n bar by capital N. Okay. So n bar known, capital N, we will be just try to find. We will be trying to find that n is very large, tends to infinity. We'll come to that point a little while later. So now you little bit simplify here. So this n to the power n bar to the power n I take outside, and n factorial also I take here, and then what is left over? This n factorial goes there, then n capital N factorial divided by n minus n factorial, and n to the power n I put here. I put this thing within square bracket because I can to a certain value, and this is the another part as it is. I have just kept keeping. So I have now three factors. So what is P? P is the probability of finding n photons and the segment we are considering, total segment we are considering, and capital N is the subsegment number, and the probability what we are finding, that whether there is a photon or not. That is the whole point. Okay. Now left hand side, that first factor, that is n bar to the power n by factorial, because I want to find n and n bar is known. So that factor is you don't need to worry. So that is actually you can find out, because if you want to find out 0 photons, the first factor can be evaluated very easily because n bar. But this n is something we have to go for very large value. Here also n has to, we have to go for very large value. So if you see n, if it is very large, what would be this value in that limiting case? N very large, what would be the value in this case? So to solve that, so we try to take help of one formula called Stirling's formula. That is actually, again, this Stirling formula, it was actually introduced while particularly in statistics, and heavily used in thermodynamics also. So what is that? If you have n is an integer number, you take factorial, and whatever factorial value you are getting, you take ln of it. And if n is very, very large, tends to infinity, then it can be approximated to this. So this is a famous Stirling's formula, and frequently it is used in communication also. It is frequently used because that time also you will be calculating certain bit length, all those type of things. Right. So this formula we'll be using. So let us start with the second factor. Second factor is this one, right? This is the second factor. I have just directly picked from here and just put down limit n should be tends to infinity. What we can do, that when n tends to infinity, we have a numerator and denominator. Numerator we can write like this according to this Stirling formula, and denominator also we can write like this according to this Stirling formula. And then this one, ln means n times ln n. Ln n to the power n means, so this is just a logarithmic things that should be written left hand side. Now you just look this thing carefully. When n tends to infinity, this will become 0. You just think about that. When n tends to infinity, maybe you can ignore this number of photons you are considering in that segment. So you can write this is like a ln, right? So that means n ln, so that will be cancelled, and nn will be cancelled here, and ultimately it can be reduced to 0. Okay, so that is the value you will be getting, right? So something you are taking ln and you are getting 0. So what would be the value of this one? Definitely we know that anything you are taking ln and you are getting 0, that means that anything is nothing but 1. So that is what we have written here. So we can just say that for n tends to infinity, okay, n tends to infinity, this value is reduced to 1. So that is what, now we have this factor and second factor is reduced to 1. Okay, for n, so starting from binomial theorem, that is fine. But what we get for our problem, this can be approximated to 1. Okay, and then third factor is this one, again n tends to infinity. So if you just try to see carefully this one, suppose this one n by n average by capital N is x, and this one is something like that m. Okay, now you have 1 minus x to the power m, and this is again you can actually expand, you know, that's in a series form, 1 minus x to the power m. So we can just write 1 minus mx plus, that means 1 by 1 factorial, 1 by 2 factorial, m into m minus 1, x square, 1 by 3 factorial. Every alternate one it will be coming like a plus minus, m into m minus 1, m minus 2. I think that is actually in your fundamental mathematics limit series you might have studied, and frequently also it is used to understand also differentiation, everything. So, and also I think you have a plus 2 standard also, this type of series normally introduced nowadays. Okay, so now you know what is m. M is this one and x is this one. So if you just put down m and x everywhere, m and x, then n tends to infinity you have to consider also. Then you will be getting this series, simple this series, 1 minus n bar plus 1 by 2 factorial n bar minus 1 by 3 factorial n bar. And you know, if you get this type of series, that is nothing but exponential of x, e to the power minus x. E to the power minus x can be can be expressed in this form. So that means in the infinite, n tends to infinity, if this value is becoming infinity, that small n will be insignificant then this one is reduced to, of course this is very small, x is very small, so it is a converging series, so it will be e to the power minus x. Okay, so e to the power minus. So we have now solved, the first one is there and second one, third one is actually e to the power minus n bar. So if you just put down everything here, so you get this is the expression. So now we mathematically we have divided it into n very large segments of the segment of our interest. Then we say that within that the number of photons, probability of number of photons, probability to get n photons, that can be expressed like this. So average should be known. This is actually very useful. It is just directly we got, but very useful. Many application actually it is used, not only for photonics, regular practical applications also. You know, for example, every day in a hospital, some examples people used to give. In a hospital, normally on an average, say 100 people visits. So you want to know, suppose you have a duty around say 8 to or maybe midnight duty you have, so something you don't want that odd timing. But if you try to get, okay, within that time period, how many patients will be coming, probability you can find. Based on that, you can plan for taking some nap also. So that you can use this type of distribution. But here we will be using for our photon statistics, so that probability of finding a photon, so that we can, that timing we can actually adjust for your photo detector, and you can just say that, okay, my probability of finding in an experiment, probability of finding is this much. Okay, and sometimes, you know, this expression occasionally convenient to use count rate alpha. Alpha means, suppose you are getting alpha number of photons per unit time. Okay, that is the number. This is the number of photons arriving per unit time to your photo detector measurement system, for example, or any device of interest. You have a number of photons arriving in unit time is alpha. So in that case, we know that normally this average, I want my interest of time segment is t now. I know that alpha. So I can write average photon coming within that time segment t is alpha times t. So if we know that average photons per unit time, how many photons are coming, it is as if like an average. Okay, per second rate you are getting alpha. So then my interest of time is t, time interval is t. So that means average n can be written like that, n bar can be written like this, alpha t. So you can just directly write this one for n equal to 0. So in this case, what I will be trying to get, I will be trying to this, how will read, how will we interpret? That means number of photons, probability of finding number or reaching, arriving number of photons in time t will be this one. Of course, instead of n bar, you need to know alpha. So this type of expression also sometimes it is very useful. People use also. We'll be using also some applications. Right. Now, next thing is that, well, we have a distribution. You can plot this one. We have shown earlier that like almost like a Gaussian, but not Gaussian. This is a Poisson distribution. Suppose average number is given, you can consider n maybe 10, n can be 100, n bar, n can be 100. Suppose average photon is coming like this, then you want to know, suppose I want to find 10 photons for this segment. So what is the probability you can find? So x-axis can be your n and y-axis can be probability. Then you can use this one, you can find your distribution. Now, normally, you know, you have already, from the quantum mechanics point of view, we have already defined psi is a complex wave function for any quantum particle, and then we asked ourselves what is psi. We said that we don't know any. Schrodinger himself says that I don't know what is it, but it gives me correct results. Then I think psi square came into picture. That is actually probability density, right? So probability density of finding a particle in a certain length, that is actually psi star. So you know, if you have a psi value, then you find out psi square, that is so-called probability density. Then using that probability density or psi function, you can find out expectation value of the position expectation, momentum expectation, everything. If you have a momentum operator, momentum times psi star, both sides be right, expectation, right? So here also, if we have a probability distribution, I want to find out what is the expectation value of finding n photons. Okay. Our intention is to find out the expectation value of, I have this type of distribution, but I suppose what is the expectation of finding 10 photons, for example, I want to find out. Okay. So that value, one is probability, another is expectation. Probability and expectation is different. So what is that? So what we have to do, we have to consider every photon's number and corresponding probability you have to add. This is the probability, this one probability, and then this is the number of photons, right? Photons of your interest. It can start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Instead of integration, we just put a summation here. So same way like whatever in quantum mechanics and psi star integration we use, because it is a discrete phenomena, so we put a summation. So I just want to find out expectation value of n. Okay. So expectation value of n, if I just, that means it is saying that, okay, on an average, although n, it will come like a same result. So let us see. So you just put down like this. This n equal to, this is the thing. Wait, so one thing we can reach, only change is n equal to 0. We have put n equal to 1 and everything is same. Why, you know? Because once you put n equal to 0, that means it is a 0. So I omit that one. So n starts from 1. That is better. So something first term is 0. So we can just put down n equal to 1 to infinity. Okay. So all the value I am just considering and trying to find out the expectation value. Okay. Instead of integration up to infinity. Now do a little bit of trick here. You see n and n factorial. N factorial, you know, n factorial means n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 times n minus 3 times n minus 4 and so on. It is n factorial. So if you just take n out, that means n times n minus 1 factorial. So this n and this n will cancel. So you are reduced to like this equation. And of course, you are just adding n equal to 1 to infinity. This value is constant for this sum. So I can take this one outside. I have taken this one outside. And one more I want to take outside, that one n bar also I am taking outside. Okay. When I am taking n bar outside, that means I will be writing n bar times n minus 1 here. Okay. And n minus 1 factorial. So now you try to find out the value just varying n equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So I have the factor n bar e to the power minus n bar, that I keep outside factor, and this sum I just expanded like this. You see, if n equal to 1, what you get? N equal to 1, n to the power n bar to the power 0. That means 1. And 0 factorial means 1. So first term is 1. Now n equal to 2, you put down here. N equal to 3, you put down here. So you get a very nice series. And what is that series? That is nothing but e to the power n bar. So that means expectation value of n, I am writing n bar e to the power minus n bar times e to the power n bar, whatever series coming. So that means n bar. So that means whatever average value we have considered, you know, that is expectation means always you consider like average value. So n bar, whatever we are getting, that is actually expectation value. It is. So that is for sure, we don't have any doubt that this distribution, whatever we are considering, that is actually usable function according to our quantum mechanical probability point of view also. We can relate that here to there. Okay. So that is not the important thing we are trying to understand now. We want to understand, we want to find, okay, if this is the distribution, suppose for a given average number of photon given, classically we find, then I want to know what is the variance, what is the standard deviation of this distribution. In standard deviation from this distribution, you can plot and you can find that is one way. Mathematically, we try to quantify that thing. So that variance to find out, we know that variance, I think there is a mistake here. It should be capital delta n square. So this delta n square variance we are writing. So what is this variation, this expression? Meaning you try to get variance, normally we put down a square, right? And then you have to find out expectation of n square minus expectation of n, then you put a square. So that is what you have also in the assignment also, you have a lot of problems to find out the variance like this. So here you have to just find out this one. Now this one, you try to do little bit of trick here. In the first term, you have n square. What I did in the first term, I just subtracted n and added n. And this one is what? Expectation of n, then square. Expectation of n is n bar. So that square I have just written down directly. Okay. So now from here, what we get? Delta n square, expectation of inside this value. This value I'm just putting n into n minus 1 plus n and minus n square. N bar square, sorry. Okay. So this is the thing we are getting now, right? Now If we actually, you see, this one is expectation n again, n bar coming. So second term, third term, we have the, because once we know average, we have this one. Now we have to evaluate only this function, this expectation of n times n minus 1. Okay, instead of n square, I need to find out n times n minus 1. Okay, and this is known, then I can find out expectation. So we try to find out expectation of n times n minus 1. So normally in quantum mechanics also, anything you want to find out expectation, that can be momentum, that can be position, that can be energy, anything. So here we are just that anything is n times n minus 1. I'm taking the expectation. So that expectation value also I can write the probability multiplied by this one and integration, here summation. Okay, and what I put here, initially what we have put here, n equal to 0 converted into n equal to 1, because this multiplication is n multiplication 0, it means first term is giving you 0. Okay, so in that case what I would do, n equal to 1, even if you see, if you put n equal to n equal to 0 is 0, and n equal to 1 also if you put, that also will become 0, because it is n times n minus 1. So 0 term n equal to 0 and n equal to 1 can be omitted. So I start from n equal to 2 to infinity, right? 2 to infinity, and then what we do, you have n times n minus 1, and denominator you have n factorial. So n factorial means you can write n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 factorial. I can take out n into n minus 1 so that I can cancel it here, this one. So ultimately if that cancelled, so what you are getting, n to the power n bar to the power n by n minus 2 factorial, and exponential as it is. And like previously whatever we have considered, this thing we have taken out, outside we can take it outside, and because n minus 2 factorial is there, we can take a factor of n bar square we can take out. Then here also power will become n minus 2. So that is the tick. So we have just taken n bar square and to e to the power minus n bar square I have taken, they are constant, they are known value to us. This is taken out here, and e to the power minus n bar also I have just considered here, right? And then this one. Now again you just try to think this one. You just expand from n equal to 2. N equal to 2 if you put, then this will become 0, that means this will become 1. So 1 by 0 factorial. 0 factorial means 1. That means first term n equal to 2 you are getting 1. And next term you will be getting n bar by factorial 1. N equal to 3, n bar square by factorial 3. 2, 3 and so on, you will be getting similar type of expression like this, whatever you have got 260. So you start from 2, you will get same series like this here, because that's the same thing. Whenever you are putting n minus 2 by n minus 2, that is actually summation, that is a series of e to the power x. Okay, so e to the power n bar. Once it is e to the power n bar, this e to the power minus n bar will be cancelled, and then this will become n bar square. Okay, right? So what does it mean? N bar square, if you are just putting, okay, so this value you got. Now you have equation 264. Come back, that is the variance. Variance is equal to delta, this original expression like this, but we have simplified here. So we wanted to find out this value, then we want to substitute. Now you just put down this n bar square in this equation. So this one is n bar square, n bar minus n square, n bar square. So n bar square and this n square will cancel. So I have written down like this. So what you will be getting, this n bar square. Oh sorry, I think here is one mistake is there. I have just by mistake, this should be equal sign. This is not minus sign. So n bar square plus n bar minus n bar square, that should be equal to n bar. So that is your n bar means delta n square. So that is your variance. So every time, so keep on measuring things. So variance, if you try to find out what is the average value, expectation of deviation from the average value, so we find n bar again. So that's interesting. So we get that variance equal to delta, variance also actually n bar, and also expectation also n bar. That is the beauty of Poissonian distribution. So you get expectation, you try to find out expectation, that is n bar, and variance also n bar. Okay, now from variance also we define that standard deviation. So standard deviation is square root of delta n. Any distribution, it may not be Poissonian, it may be Gaussian, it may be some other distribution is there. Normally standard deviation is more important for our estimation or prediction. Okay, so this would be the standard deviation, always it would be helpful. So that standard deviation means delta n square root n. So it is equal to n, so it will be, if you know the average value, standard deviation is square root of n bar. So that actually very fantastic, that you know the average number, how much it is coming. Then it's a you started from classical thinking, that average photon number, how much you will be getting. Now then you slowly if you just try to find out that, okay, this electromagnetic wave is nothing but a stream of photons, right? So this stream of photons, that is a quantum particle, right? That is actually our transition. If you just consider quantum particle, then if it is a quantum particle, we can count how many photons are coming for a certain interval of time, certain interval of length, how many of them are coming. Now, if they are coming, then if you just try to take a statistics, then the variance or standard deviation, if you try to find out, standard deviation of arrival, that is square root of n bar average. Okay, that is the that we know that any laser, if it is towards monochromatic source, okay, if it is a monochromatic source, so then standard deviation will be average photon you calculate classically, then standard deviation you are sure that square root of n bar, it should not exceed anything like that. That is the beauty of the Poissonian distribution, and monochromatic sources are Poissonian distributions. Okay, so this is I want to stop here for today, and next we will be just considering that to find out other sources where how to distinguish other type of sources, like Poissonian source is one thing. We know that it comes like a probability distribution. You find any number you want, there is a certain probability that you may get a single photon, you may not get single photon at a time. Bunching of photons can happen also, but normally we will be interested more on if it is one photon coming, that should be like a one particular state wave function. If it is two photon coming, like that will be that can be considered a particular state. Three photons coming together will be considered a particular state. Those type of states will be normally, I think you have already you've been introduced, that is called about Fock state. Okay, so but that is that type of states. What is the probability of each of these Fock states? That actually can be predicted by the different type of distribution function. And another thing is that we'll be trying to understand that whether we can get a predicted Fock state or predicted number of photons in a particular interval of time and regularly, then it is good. So in that case, always you will be interested to know that if the standard deviation is less, lower the standard deviation, better is your prediction, that you will be surely, definitely you will be getting within a particular time of, your probability will be more, it will be increased to find certain around average number, so that will be known to you. So whenever you want to use as a quantum photonics, photon has to be manipulated, photon has to be counted. That photon counting actually very important ultimately at the end of the day for any quantum photonics device, measurement particularly at the end of the day. So always good to have some device where the standard deviation delta n is lower than the conventional laser source, like a Poissonian laser Poissonian distribution, like average photon if it is n bar, this one. So if it is delta n standard deviation is less than square root of n, I have already mentioned earlier that that type of source is very interesting to us, because standard deviation you can reduce. Then your laser source, which we consider that is a good quality light source, but you have to go further below to effectively use your photons as a quantum state. So that is called actually sub-Poissonian source. And that is being hunted for decades to find out a very good sub-Poissonian source for quantum photonic applications, and we'll be discussing that in this course also. And another thing is that if something normally other than laser source and not sub-Poissonian, where delta n will be always greater than the square root of average for example, you have a black body radiating electromagnetic wave, and then you know the Poynting theorem, you know how much power is coming out, you know how many photons on an average you supposed to get. But then at the end of the day, you want to sample a particular time, your energy is coming at the particular window I want to measure. Then I want to know that within that window, what is the probability of finding 5 photons, for example? What is the probability of finding 10 photons for that source, whether that source can be useful for quantum mechanics applications or not. If you know that, okay, I have the probability of this much, so all the estimation, all the calculation you can actually build upon on that probability expectation. So we would like to derive another expression for thermal sources, and then we'll proceed for the next course of. Okay, I stop here. Okay, thank you very much.